speaking English now.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. No more Danish. Det lød meget amerikansk.
No more Danish.
No more Danish. This is episode 2 of our Tipsy Talk on my channel that we started with last week with Jake. So that was to talk about relationship. But today we're here with the one and only Sissel, who is my Danish sister, and we are together here right now to celebrate our Let's Grow Together launch. In collaboration with Project Nord, that as I showed you a couple of days ago on my channel as well, and on Instagram, and you did as well, we've created these 5 beautiful posters.
And the purpose, of course, is to spread beautiful awareness about all the topics that we've created the posters about, but also we've collaborated with Tree Nation and donating 100% of the profit to planting trees, and that's by far the most important of everything, I think.
Yeah, this has no other motive than to give back to our beautiful home, our planet. So today, as of right now when this video is live, these are available for purchase, all of them on Project Nord's website, which is linked down below. So in celebration of that, we brought some natural wines. We have a Indigeno, and then I have tried a couple of these actually. I tried the orange wine. They have a lot of different ones, but this is such a good wine. And then we have Tough Nut.
Yeah.
Tough Nut. Since you are the guests of
I should choose?
this, yes, you should choose.
Are you kidding me? Okay. I feel like it's a hard one, but then again, not really. Not really. I feel like this is the one.
Yeah? Okay. So thankfully it's like, because usually I like to have whites before reds, but this is, you know, a natural wine, and usually they're not as heavy as a red wine. Also look at this bad boy.
Yeah, this looks insane.
This was the best 20,000 one that I've ever spent in my life. So cheap, right? Look at this.
No. This... I've never seen anything like this.
That's amazing, seriously. Right?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, seriously, cheers.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my god.
I'm proud of us.
I'm so proud.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Okay, this is really good.
Ooh.
But very unexpected.
Yeah. It's very natural wine.
And it keeps going.
Today we want to touch topics of almost every one of the topics that we created these posters in. So we have, let's introduce them first for you guys so you can see. First we have this one over here. It's called Let's Grow Together. So Let's Grow Together, it's also the title work of our collection, right? So it's just the growth in general and how it's important for us to grow collectively and together. As you can see of the motive that Sissel drew is such a beautiful tree filled with faces that's blooming at the top. The next one is feminists that we have here.
Okay, so this one, I feel like it's all of them are very important to both of us, but this one we spend a lot of energy talking about as well. I think it's our favorite, maybe? Do we dare to say that? Yeah.
Also design-wise and such.
Just like everything, the colors and for me, like when I was drawing this, I felt like I wanted to do something that was uplifting, because it is a very heavy topic and it's a very serious topic. And I wanted to make something that when you look at it, you feel inspired and you feel like you can imagine the road ahead instead of just feeling reminded that this is an issue. I
added the text and Sissel drew the motives on all of the posters. In the back we have I Am. So this one is a little bit more deep inside of your own growth, inside your own like spirituality or inner peace, inner calmness, knowing yourself. And also, you know, it's kind of symbolizing that you can define yourself with pretty much everything, because you are what you feel inside. which is why it says I am within. And the colors are so beautiful. It's a little beautiful lady with flowers going out of her chest. And then we do have our Love is Love.
Love is Love.
This is Jake's favorite.
Yeah.
I told you earlier.
It's my sister's favorite as well.
Yeah?
Love is Love, I think it says everything. I think this is one of my favorite topics, like, to talk about in general, is just love, because it's so simple and we can talk about it forever, but it just always comes down to that, like, love is the biggest and the most important thing. That, for me at least, every topic in the world, every issue in the world can be boiled down to what would love do. And love would always be understanding and be loving and be inclusive and be kind.
Yeah. And then here, the last one is called Our Responsibility. This is a beautiful motive of what you can interpret as the universe hugging the earth, because it feels sad. I don't know, that's at least how you can interpret it anyway, but I like to interpret it as being sad of the direction that the world is currently going in environmental wise, and that we have to do something about it. And then when I added the text, I had a good laugh about that. So down here I did another little, like,
so cute.
little, like, what is that called, definition from Google, but I wrote my own definition of environmentalist, and I said, an individual concerned for the environment choosing to destroy the patriarchy instead.
And it was so cute because I forgot to comment on it, and I know you, and you need me to comment on stuff like this. So later she texted me like, oh, by the way, like, did you
what do you think? Can you please tell me I'm hilarious?
I think I can talk for both of us when I say we know that we're not going to change the world by selling posters, but the point is that these topics and planting trees because the world is literally burning it's a big, like, the goal is really big, and the step can seem, there's a lot of steps to get to the goal, but I think we fail to realize sometimes that even a small step is still a step in the right direction.
So I think this is a good little segue to go to the topic of feminism, which is our poster here, the beautiful yellow one, because so many people asked about feminism in particular, and are just very afraid of voicing the fact that they are feminists. And I actually see that a lot, especially here in Korea, because the people here in Korea mostly who are very vocal about this topic, and I don't necessarily think that this is actually feminism. I don't really think that is. There's a very small group of women here who are so tired of the patriarchy and the way that the society is built up that they went on the very opposite end and very extreme. And they call themselves feminists. And, you know, feminism is all about equality, so I don't believe that that is feminism. But a lot of people here, especially men, thinks that it is, because this is what they hear in the news and in the media. They always see the very extreme form of what's going on, right? Because that's what has news quality. So that's what they think now mean feminism. So that's why so many people here has such a negative view on feminism, because they define feminism as angry women wanting to not have children and don't like ever talk with a man and be angry with all men and think men should just bow down for women, which is not what feminism is. Not at least if you ask me. This is so funny. It's not funny at all, but it's, you know what I mean, like these kind of problems where people, like humans, we get addicted to words and the meaning of words, and then we like nitpick, like, oh, but this word doesn't mean that for me, and you are using the word incorrect, and in reality we're all having like a completely different experience about what it is to be human. So how can we even sit down and talk about what a word means to you? Like, how can we even start? But the thing is that it's just a little bit troubling that people spend so much time
defining a word instead of looking like what do we mean, what do we want with this?
Yeah.
Where do we want to go? Is it because we want a better future? And should we talk about that instead of that how you're using the word wrong? Like, it's just...
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the danger. We need words, and we need the word feminism, because we need something like an umbrella term to be active under, right? But it's just a little bit...
It's misleading for many people because it's hard to navigate, and that's why I think there's so much stigma in the whole word, and so many people are afraid of calling themselves feminists because they're afraid of what people will think. Yeah, and I am personally one of those people who are very like unapologetically just, no, I'm a feminist, and in my head I have this very strong. So I truly believe that there are two types of people. There are feminists and then there are sexists. Because no matter if you define yourself as a feminist or not by choice, if you believe that we should all have access to the same things, no matter what gender or color or religion, anything you have, then I believe you're a feminist. It doesn't matter what you think, but you are or not. In my head, okay, I'll put you in the feminist booth. And then everyone who doesn't believe that, I'm like, you're a sexist.
Because we've been talking about this much, and because I know how much this, the word in itself also means to you, like you use it a lot. Like, you're probably one of the people I know who use this word most. And that's really refreshing to me, because I don't use it a lot, but I do think that like you would probably say that I'm a feminist, right?
Well, 100%.
I don't know if I would. It's not that I wouldn't say it. I just don't use the word a lot, but I talk about the feeling of it a lot, because I just don't really like to put. And I know this is such an annoying sentence. I don't like to put myself in a box. Yeah. But it's the same with sexuality and love. I just don't really care. Like, why do I owe you to put a label or a word on myself? If I'm really, really good at expressing, and by being a person of this world and expressing through my behavior what I want, and that I want the best for you and the best for you, then why do I need to say that I'm
exactly blah, blah. But you never owe anyone shit. No. And that's, that's like, because with me, I do view labeling that you're a feminist or stuff like that differently than viewing like telling your sexuality. Because I have for the longest time until I felt like it was so unclear to people, and like for me to express it online, especially because I'm so open and my whole life is online as well. I have just recently, in the past year or so, I would say, started to call myself a bisexual woman, which sounds weird because I feel the same with you.
And it's a funny timeline that you do it in, because it's actually like, that was, not that that matters, but...
You're opposite for you?
Yeah, like when I was younger, I loved to tell people that I was bisexual. Yeah. Now I don't say, like, I really, really don't use that word a lot, but I used to. But I understand why you do, because I don't have my life online like you do. And
now you do.
I'm bisexual.
Coming out. Oh, this is a good video title. Coming out.
As everything.
Yeah. Also, like, can we just, now I'm completely changing. Let's go back to what you just said in a moment. Yeah. But I fucking hate the term coming out.
I hate
coming
it.
Out of the closet.
Coming
it's
out
like,
of where?
Come on. People who are not allowing or not knowing the fact that there are people who feel a different way in the world. I feel like they are the people in the closet.
I know this is gonna sound so cheesy, right? But I feel like nobody's coming out, we're just letting people in.
Exactly.
Seriously, because it's not like, oh, so you are out living in the real world and here I am. Like, no. Like, there's some specific words and sentences that we really like to say, and I think we don't really notice that we're saying them. For example, like coming out, or like in Danish we say like this thing like, smil til solen, så smiler den til dig, or like if you smile to the sun, the sun will smile back at you. Like we have some like old sentences that we just say. If you smile to the sun will smile back to you. That's a positive affirmation, right? But if you say coming out of the closet, it's not in itself a negative affirmation, but I think we have put a lot of negative weight into that affirmation. Like anyways, it's still an affirmation, and when we keep using it unknowingly, people, like our brains just connects it.
Yeah, because like saying that you were in the closet before implies that you weren't in the real world and you weren't being yourself. And I mean, just because you don't share
something.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, again, this is like you're not obligated to tell people.
No.
And it's you can be your 100% true self and still not want to tell people who you like to, who you feel attracted to. And it's like, it's such a crooked way of thinking.
Because like,
old school.
do straight people like tell people that they are straight? Like,
anyways,
cheers.
You don't owe shit to people.
No, you really don't. You really don't.
But there is an exception to that. You still don't owe anyone to anything to anyone. But if you want to change the world, you have to talk open about it.
True.
And that implies, especially to both homosexuality and feminism. Those are two things that if we stay silent about them, it won't change much. It would change down after generations, but what really is the big change is paying it forward. And we can only do that by being vocal, and I think that little things, again, is a good thing, like a step in the right direction, and just live your truth.
Yeah, as long as you are safe, like if you can do it in a safe surrounding, as soon as you begin to feel unsafe, you don't you don't owe anyone anything, and you should only do it if you feel like you have the mental and the capacity in your heart and mind to share about your life. But also for me, I think, again, I want to go back to like the labeling thing. You can definitely share about your experience as a person without saying I'm gay, I'm a feminist. Like you can, for me, like growing up, my parents, they did something really beautiful that I didn't think about before recently actually. They always told me like, oh, so when you grow up, if you want to have a relationship, you can get you can be in a relationship with Maria from the kindergarten or Oliver from the kindergarten. So I just grew up and I thought that, the point was not about Maria or Oliver, it was about the relation, like the goal was just like finding love, right? And sharing love, but it wasn't about gender or who they were. And then, like, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I went a little bit off rail, but it's not about saying, my parents didn't tell me, oh, it's okay if you're gay, or it's okay if you're straight. They said, just fall in love, that's the point. We want you to be happy.
Because love is love.
Because love is love.
And I totally agree with that. That's such a beautiful thing. And that's definitely, like, something that I want to do when I have kids one day as well. Yeah. And it's like, again, that's such a subtle way of doing it, because yes, you don't have to flag around with anything if you don't feel comfortable, or if you're unsafe, especially. But we can change the world in many places, but it does require us to speak up about something.
You don't have to say, I'm XYZ, you can say, for me...
I believe XYZ.
Yeah, when I had my first girlfriend, I said to my grandmother, I just said, I've got a girlfriend. Her name is XYZ, and I could tell that my grandmother was surprised, but she didn't question it, because it was just like, I'm not saying that your grandmother won't question it, it's just, it's instead of me saying I'm gay, that becomes the point, and it's not. The point is that I fell in love, and that's, for some reason,
there's so many people who has this whole, and I mean, that's great if you feel like that's what's best for your family and such, but this whole like sit down serious talk and be like, Mom and Dad, I'm gay.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't have to be like that. I think that's that's what we see in movies. That's what we see in the media, because that's how people think that's how it's supposed to be.
And you know something I just thought of when you said this, which is really interesting, because not only did we see it in movies, but so did our parents, right? So they also saw how they should react, which is like, oh, really? Blah, blah,
yeah.
blah. So how about turning the tables and presenting that, like, your sexuality or your whatever it is you want to present, like, where you actually just tell, like, the point. I fell in love.
Yeah.
Her or his, so their name is blah blah blah.
And you know, in general, nothing is ever wrong or right. Like, you just have to listen to yourself. Like, I never came out to my parents, and I don't have the need to either. It's, you know, whoever I fell in love with is people that I fall in love with, and I mean, I'm very open about like my sexual experiences with my mom. Like, we talk about sex a lot, and so she knows, like, just very, like, once when I wasn't in a relationship, obviously, if I would just be like, oh yeah, and then I met this person, and then we had sex, and it was great, but it was different. Like, this person was like, and then we accidentally dropped the she, and then my mom was like, oh, that was how my mom started to know about it. She didn't really, she didn't really react much. She was just like, oh, it was a girl? That's so cool. Always wanted to try that, never could. And I also think that both you and me are very privileged to grow up with parents who are so open. Yeah. And I get it that so many people are not growing up in this situation. And in that sense, you have to determine, will your life quality, because that's what's most important. You don't also, as much as you don't owe anyone else your truth, you don't owe your parents that truth either. Just because they're parents doesn't mean that you have to tell them everything. And you have to determine if this will have a bad outcome for your life, or if it will not be good or not be beneficial for anyone if you said it. And if it doesn't have any benefit, don't feel bad about not telling your parents.
We don't have to focus on the parents. Like, telling your truth, do it to your friend or to the woman behind the, what do you say, cash register?
Or to people online.
Do it, people online. Do it to someone in the bus, like, not that you have to, you know, if you have like conversation with someone.
Hello, I'm gay.
No, but
how are you?
It doesn't have to. You can grow and you can express yourself. Not only through your parents, like that, again, that's like a weird movie story,
you don't owe your parents anything.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Do it to who it feels natural. And
exactly.
Yeah. I was talking to someone about this like some years ago. Super, super interesting. Why? And it happened to me so many times. Going into a relationship with a man, right?
Yeah.
We, like, it's just expected that it's like a heteronormative, oh, now it's just you and me, it's not an open relationship. Like, we don't even, like, I used to not even talk about it with my partners or the men that I went into relationships with when I was younger. But with women, it would be way more like, oh, so is this an open relationship? Is this an exclusive? Like, it's just funny that why do we expect everything that's like heteronormative and like cis? Why do we just expect it's just so small?
Yeah.
And we just expect it from people, like, oh, here we are, like this white girl, Maria, you must be, like, you must be into men, right?
And it's so funny because it's in my head, like, there's this part of me that do believe that we're all super gay, but not us all wants to or can connect with that side of us. And so until we find someone who has opened up for that world in themselves or in their head, in their heart, we expect the least, we expect the minimum, and like then they're all open to anything else too. And so when you go into a relationship with a straight person, you don't again, you don't like expect them to actually be open and in connection with their full self, in their full sexual self and their full loving self in that sense. Just we should start to normalize that we're all on the most open level of consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That would be so great if people were practicing expression a little bit more.
This is the first relationship that I'm in where I'm like totally open about, you know, what I'm attracted to, and Jake also knows that I'm attracted to girls as well. Drake!
Oh, lucky you! Cheers for Drake!
Cheers for Drake!
Yeah.
Last night, girl. Ooh!
I was actually listening to his new album on the way here. It's so good.
I think so many people in a relationship doesn't allow you to, like, doesn't acknowledge the fact that no matter in what stage of love and relationship they're in, you can still feel attracted to other people.
And you do.
You do.
We are animals. I'm sorry,
Everyone
but we are
does.
animals. This is part of our biology.
We just don't act on it.
We don't act on it.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference. And we've talked about a lot about this because it's a beautiful topic and it actually makes me so proud to be human as well, that we can choose, because how beautiful is it to wake up like you do? I'm single. You wake up every day with your boyfriend and then you guys choose each other.
Yeah. Over and over again.
You have a choice. You literally have a choice to not do that, but you do it, and that's the biggest love commitment ever. And I just think that's mind-blowing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been talking for a while now. Let's go on to some of you guys' questions. Right now. Okay, let's have a little pee break first because I've been drinking.
It's crazy. Sissel was visiting me last weekend, and we were just having a really good time, and the vibe was great, and suddenly she comes out from the bathroom with a serious face. She's like, "Do you always put the toilet paper that way?" And I had no idea what she was talking about. And then she explained me that if you don't put the paper, like the towel that you pull on the outside, it looks cheap. So now every time I'm in the bathroom, I turn my toilet paper around because I can't unhear this voice in my head saying that it looks cheap.
Anyways, let's see. The question is, your take on straight women enjoying homosexuality fiction or erotica?
I love this.
It's my field of study. Oh, so this girl is you're very smart in this study. So let's see if we have something. In my opinion, girl, go ahead, do it. Maybe it's just because there's a little side of you that really kind of want it.
Especially when it comes to sex and enjoying sex. And also, like, sex doesn't have to be physical penetrative sex. Sex is also in your mind and just like the erotic feeling.
And talking about sex is
however you want. This is I don't remember the exact number, but there's this study, maybe it's quite popular, that shows that like a very high number, I want to say 80, but I'm not sure, I'm sorry, percent of women watching porn online watch gay porn between gay men.
I did that a lot.
Yeah, and you talked about that as well, which for me is really like, that's just like, it's not a point, it's just to say that what turns you on doesn't have to be a reflection of your sexuality. Also, again, with the labels and the labels and the words, what the fuck is, like, why? I am yet to meet a person who is like in this little square box of like gay or bisexual or
everything is so fluid.
People, and then you'll meet someone and then you're like, wow, you're very, very straight. But then they really, really like, I don't know, to...
You know what, most very cis men really like lesbian porn.
Yeah, and sexuality is like...
It's so fluid.
Yeah, and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just have fun. Sex should be fun. And just as you were saying before, with you and Jake talking about like your sexual relationship and just being open about it. For me, that's the purpose. Like, sex can be really awkward and it is really weird.
Yeah.
So let's just have fun with it. Let's not pretend like it's cool and perfect, because it's not. It's weird and fun and
beautiful and amazing and it's fireworks.
Yeah. And just like, don't hold back and talk about it.
So when it comes to whenever like we think that straight women shouldn't do that, I think a good way, okay, so you have known for very, very long, or accepted yourself in the fact that you liked any gender, and I haven't. Like, for me, it started to come up in my early teenage years, but even before that, so let's say when I first started to look at pornography and started to explore my own pleasure centers a lot, we both recently...
And we didn't know this. The chances are so small.
Exactly. Especially because we like the exact same fucked up things.
It's so funny. It's so funny. We were laughing. I'm still laughing about it. It's ridiculous.
So how did it go? Like, so we talked about that, because I used to not know how to find like pornography on my phone, and I also didn't dare to do that. So I knew that there were some ways that I could find something like this, because at this time, mind you, I was like 12, 13. It's like, how do I find this thing that kind of like makes me, you know, in the mood to like help myself?
Yeah.
And it just ended up in
the library.
The library.
In the local library in the countryside of Roskilde. They had a manga series that was definitely like, I'm sure that the librarian, the sweet, sweet librarian,
she did not know what was inside of that manga.
But Sissel and I, we knew.
Yeah. Like, love Hina, y'all.
Shout out.
Shout out.
If you know, you know. That was crazy. And the cool thing about it was that you could take this manga, you could bring it to school, to your grandma's, you could read it in the kitchen, because the front was so just like cutesy and
she did have ginormous boobs though.
Yeah, but the adults didn't expect you to know that.
Yeah.
So it was just like a cute cartoon, right? And then inside was the Holy Grail.
Oh my god, my first ever orgasm induced by myself was with the help of Love Hina. Oh my god. And I wasn't attracted to the fact that this man was with her. I was just attracted to her.
Yeah. Like all the women.
She was yummy.
But also just like the man, like this book series is quite amazing, because the man is extremely passive.
Yeah.
Like he's actually not really doing or saying anything. Yeah. It's just like all these women. It's just like a harem of women. Him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are kind of like, they have a lot of attitude.
Yeah.
And he's just like, ugh.
I feel like this is so healthy for a woman in this society to actually be introduced to this first. Like, I was so thankful, now that I think about it, now I am, because I'm just realizing this right now, that so many people are introduced to sex and to pornography via like traditional porn, which is very male focused.
Yeah.
While this one was so female around that I feel like that actually made me more open and made me more accepting my feelings and my desires, because it was like the woman who was in focus.
And there's so many women in this series.
Yeah.
There's so many kinds of women.
Yeah.
And they are also having like kind of sensual interactions with each other, right? If you haven't read it,
read Love Hina.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next question. So we found a last question, but I feel like we've talked so much that we haven't even tasted the second wine.
Horrible.
It's
a crime.
We didn't finish the first one yet, by the way. We haven't finished the whole bottle, although I really do feel like I'm on the tipsiness level of finishing a whole bottle.
I could definitely finish, but I just feel like we have to try this while our taste buds are still like awake.
Fresh. Yeah. They're becoming numb. Yeah. I am not gonna do the same that Jake did last time. I did teach him, as the good Virgo that I am, that from now on we open bottles away from the blanket.
Also, I was just shaming this little shovel. Can you please show them?
Isn't it cute? No? Sissel thinks it's ugly. But you know, that's what I like. That's why some of my best friends in this world are Scorpios. My girlfriend, Estelle, she's a Scorpio, the girl who introduced me and Jake to each other. You are a Scorpio, and I feel like so many people... It's not even big enough. So many people don't like Scorpios, but I think Scorpios are the best people in the world.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was like afraid of telling people that I was a Scorpio because everyone's reaction was like, oh.
She did say it was quite bubbly, which is exactly what I was requesting.
It's always like when you and I are out, we always like, can we have something bubbly?
Yeah, a bubbly natural wine.
That's so not sweet.
Yeah, very dry.
We actually have very much the same taste in wine, right?
Which is really good.
Food also.
In food.
But I feel like we haven't been eating so much. Every time we go out, we eat like, we snack.
Oh, cheese!
We eat cheese and like crackers, and then we drink a lot.
Yeah.
A lot, and we're just not ashamed of it. And I'm also like, I feel like we're kind of like, oh.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's taste it.
This is completely different.
Ooh, this is a little bit Chardonnay feel. The vanilla. Oh, that's very different.
It's like champagne.
Yeah.
Right? And did you feel like all the little bubbles, the sparkling?
Yeah. The only thing is, this is one of those that disappears in a bit after.
But
she did say it was a very lightweight, like with not a lot of body. So usually it's heavy body that stays in your mouth. This one is very light.
This is, you should just keep it in your mouth for longer.
Maybe gurgle it a bit.
Yeah, it's really good. This is really nice. Like if you put this in a champagne glass and served it to me like at a wedding, I would not question that that was champagne. Seriously.
Should we drink it in a champagne glass? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of.
Let's do it.
Now it is.
So I lost the question, but the question was, how do you find out if, you know, what sexuality you are? How to find out? This person specifically said that she thought she was one, but then she didn't think so again, and then she thought she was something else, but didn't think so again. I had kind of like been denying myself that I was attracted to women as well, because I was so fixated on the fact that I read so much online that you shouldn't believe you're bisexual because it's just a trend, and you shouldn't be a bisexual just because it's a trend. Like, sexuality is not a trend. And I do think that's true, but I also think that that actually stopped me from even myself being comfortable in what I was feeling, because so many people told you, or not told me directly, but online, like when you read like blog posts and such, like always telling you, if you like, don't pretend. And I was so in doubt, because at that point when I had started having these thoughts, I haven't tried to be with a woman yet. I kissed someone, but it would have been more in a game where other people who were, like other females who were kissing each other did it for fun, and then I was really confused about all of these things, and it was so hard for me to actually think like, okay, is this what I'm actually feeling, or is it like what they're telling you online, that, you know, you're just thinking like this because it's a trend and you're just trying to fit in or be cool or different. And I think that's a little bit toxic.
How old were you when this
At this point I was like 14. 14.
Which is also like a really confusing age to be in general. Yeah. And you have no fucking clue who you are. And then on top of that, you're faced with like whoa, and then there's also sexuality. Yeah. Like, so confusing, right? Yeah. I don't know how old you are, this person who asked the question. It kind of fits well with what we've been talking about before, but do yourself the biggest favor in your life and just have fun, just enjoy it. You don't owe anyone to put yourself in a box or to tell who you are or what you're attracted to. Have fun, and trust me, it will change. Yeah. We are not even like, we're just in our 20s. Like, I don't have no clue what I will be attracted to in 10 years or 20 years or 50 years.
Changes constantly.
Changes every single day. Every single day, and it will keep changing every single day.
Yeah.
And you will never figure it out, and that's the fun of it. That's the fun of being human.
Exactly.
Enjoy.
And you don't have to figure out what you are.
No,
because
why?
you're a human who's capable of love and who's attracted to having sex, and that's really all that you need to know. I mean, it does help a lot to know, for example, if you're asexual, because that helps you come to terms with what you want to do and what you do not want to do in a relationship, and it makes you feel okay with not having to have sex in a relationship and having to have this sexual connection. So if you're asexual or any of the other, you know, I'm not very familiar with the different terms, but if you are someone who does not like certain things, that's important to come to terms with.
Yeah, set your boundaries.
Exactly. That's about boundaries. It's not about putting yourself in a box and calling yourself something, because that's never needed in any situation. The only thing that's needed is that you're aware of what you like and what you don't like, what you desire, and what really makes you uncomfortable.
And that can change. Even what makes you uncomfortable can change. So also be aware that if you set a boundary, don't let that boundary become a definition of who you are. Like, yeah, just do it for you. Don't do it for anyone else.
Exactly.
I like that.
But it does help to have someone in your life that you can share your experiences with and talk to and grow together. And that's the whole point of our poster collection, is to share that, you know, we can grow as much as we want as individuals, but the real big change in ourselves and in the whole world happens when we grow collectively and share each other's experiences with each other. And that's why we created this for you.
Yes, because ultimately we want to make a better world, and I think we all want that.
So this was episode 2. I feel like this certainly was longer than the first episode. But I love it. And I mean, to be honest, this is...
We could talk forever.
Yeah, and we will.
We actually will talk forever.
Because Sissel will be permanently joining me on the podcast, which will no longer be Sis to Sis. It will be something else that we have not decided yet. But everything will change, but the whole point of it will not. Everything, links and everything to the posters will be down below in the description box. So be sure that you check them out and...
Let's plant some fucking trees.
Exactly,
Seriously.
let's plant some trees. So if you are
that?
in doubt of which one to choose, just choose more than one, because it's for a good cause.
And honestly, like, I don't really like to brag, which I'm practicing bragging, because why don't we brag? It's kind of amazing.
We should.
We should. We are really cool, all of us. And
the Jente-law. The law of Jente.
It's the Danish thing. But look at this. They're pretty fucking cool.
It's goddamn gorgeous.
It's goddamn cool.
Goddamn gorgeous. Now everyone, have a good night. We'll see you next week. Bye.